and welcome to the Irish Arsenal Gooner podcast. It's Monday, the 24th of January. I'm your host, Gilesy, as always. I'm joined this week by Eamonn Donnelly and Eric Shadowens. How are you, lads?
Evening, Jonathan. Evening, Eric. I'm looking at the little people on the screen there.
I don't know why this gets me every week, but
good to be back.
He's the High King, and the other fella's the leader. Good evening.
Thankfully, this week we're not both emojis, so you can see myself and Eric's face, and I don't know if Eamonn's face has gone down all right on the YouTube channel.
You'll be back home soon, I hear. Yeah, good. we can share misery.
As always, you can catch our show on Spotify and SoundCloud, but thanks to Martin Stumble of Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club, he has us on the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club YouTube channel, so you can catch us our podcast there from last week, and this week's up there in the next day or so. So if you can leave any comments, good or bad, well, you can dislike about the show, it'd be much appreciated. And I hope you enjoy the show over the next half hour or so. On this week's show, we'll be reviewing our latest fixtures in the league, the 0-0 draw yesterday against Burnley, and the disappointing 2-0 second leg home defeat by Liverpool in the Carabao Cup Semi Final Thursday gone. We'll also be talking about our loan watch feature as well, and all things Arsenal, of course, at the end of the show as well. So I hope you enjoy the show over the next half hour. So we begin with yesterday's 0-0 draw against Burnley. I predicted that this would have been a comfortable victory, like Eric and Eamon said last week. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. We had 20 attempts on goal yesterday, and I suppose we just couldn't hit the net. That was really, that in a nutshell. I thought Nick Pope done really well for Burnley yesterday. He got to some amazing shots, that you think there was destined for the goal, but somehow he got to them. A very rugged Burnley team. They came to defend and they done it very well. I just didn't find we had the killer pass to get the breakthrough. I think we deserved the victory yesterday, but it just didn't happen for us. Of course, we got beaten 1-0 last December against Burnley, so that's 4 points they've taken off us at home and no goals conceded as well. So it's just really disappointing. We should be beating teams like Burnley really at this stage of the season, but just after Thursday's defeat against Liverpool, it just wrapped up a perfect week for us. Just really disappointing yesterday, So I'm going to go to Eric this time. What did you make of the match yesterday, Eric?
Yeah, honestly, so last week I said on the podcast, I said I expected us to dominate the ball and attack, and I thought we were going to score goals. And we sort of did all of that except the score goals part. And honestly, I think that as I look back at that game a little bit, it does go to show, one, we were a bit short on personnel, so that made a big difference. We didn't have a ton to change the game late on. The fact that we keep bringing on Eddie and Nketiah to do that, and he keeps doing nothing, tells you about all you need to know about what was on the bench there. But realistically, I thought it was a game that, as you said, I thought we should have won. I thought we created the chances to win. Lacazette missed a sitter at a wide open goal. Pope made some good saves, and sometimes it just doesn't happen for you. It sort of reminded me of a number of matches in Arsene Wenger's later years where, we dominated the ball, we had all the possession, we created all the chances, and then somehow we still didn't score the goal. So, I don't really, it's funny. I look back at the match and I'm really disappointed we didn't win because we needed 3 points. It really positioned us well in terms of the top four fight. But ultimately, as performance goes, and considering the players we had, and the players we didn't have, you know, I wasn't too upset about it. I thought we did what we needed to do outside of score the goal. They didn't really create anything. I don't think that they even really were worried about creating anything. They probably should have had or very easily could have had a red card. And so, you know, we didn't get the breaks yesterday, and sometimes that happens. But as far as performances to be upset about, I didn't think that was one of them. But you know, I think overall, if we play matches with that much of the ball and we create more open chances like that, we're going to win more games than that. That said, it does highlight, you know, the struggles we have at the striker position to score, and you can tell that was a strategy from Burnley from the get-go. Every time the ball went forward, they forced it wide, and then they had two men out wide to stop Saka and Martinelli, and they said try to get it inside to Lacazette to score a goal, and we couldn't do it. Lacazette missed some chances. He got unlucky maybe with one of the chances. They got blocked, but you know, I think that there was a lot to be promising about. I think we really attacked, especially, you know, later in the second half with some real energy. But ultimately, I think that you know, it just highlights where this team needs to go up a level, and that's a striker that's kicking the ball in the net.
Yeah. I thought before I go on to Eamonn as well, Eric. I thought Saka terrorised Eric Peters all game, but I thought Burnley were so well disciplined at the back. You know, they wanted to put a foot in, but they were so clever in the box not to do anything stupid. You know, but how he had any ankles left at the end of that game, because he was kicked.
I do think it's important though that, like, you know, the way the referee chose to ref that match played to Burnley, right? Peters didn't get a yellow card.
Yeah.
Like, how he didn't get a yellow card, I'll never know. And your man stamping on Martinelli, I think was it Tierney? I can't remember. But like, I mean, that was as close to a red card as you can get without getting a red card. And then right after it, he puts his hand into somebody's face and still doesn't get a second yellow. So, you know, I think we were a bit unlucky not to play against 10 men in that match. That said, I don't know how much a difference it was going to make because, you know, at the end of the day, there was a bunker of players sat super deep in Burnley's half, and they had no intent to play and no intent to attack, and their whole goal was to get 0-0. And maybe get lucky on a set piece, right? Like that was what they were playing for, and it ended up working for them.
Yeah, they were fairly clever from Sean, and the 3-week rest definitely helped them as well. They were fresher as well. Eamonn, what did you make the match yesterday?
Definitely Cam Barlow. So frustrating, Deirdre. It was. I said on the show last week, I anticipated problems. 2 reasons. One, because I thought we might have spilled a lot in the semi-final, and the other because I just thought Burnley kind of know what they're doing against us, and it's a classic case of if everybody listened to me, Jonathan, everything would be okay, right? So, look, it was a hard watch. Okay, so let's get the disappointment out of the way first. We didn't play the first half at any real tempo, right? And, you know, you can't be looking to beat a team that is as solid as Burnley in 40, 45 minutes. It's got to be over 90. And I don't think we played at a high enough tempo at the start, okay? Yeah. That was the disappointing bit. Like Eric, though, I'm not forlorn over it because we did a lot of good things in the second half. A lot of really good stuff. I thought we were all out of shape, really, because we need our middle two. We didn't have a middle two yesterday. So, Xhaka and Partey were beginning to tick along nicely when we were getting all the goals. And they're a big miss, you know. Because they're always on the ball, and we struggle to get on the ball in the middle section of the pitch. That being said, I mean, if Lacazette scores, and he should have, I think we'll score again. You know, I think if we broke them down once, we could have got 2 or 3, and it was a bad miss. I mean, it was put on a plate for him, and that was the way we didn't do enough of what we did for that move. We got. It's one thing getting your wide players on the ball all the time, and as Eric said, they pushed out onto that. What you've got to do is get your inside players out wide and move them around and get in behind them. And we only did that a few times. And when Smith Rowe shot a beautiful turn of pace, actually, to get down there, that was the moment that we should have scored. And I like Lacazette. I like his attitude. But he really, a top striker is going to score that goal, And that was, that to me was the beginning, or was the winning of the game. I think we were too slow to get the ball out to Saka because Peters did well on him for the half, but he was absolutely worn out. Peters was worn out. And I think if we'd have got the ball quicker to Saka as the game wore on, I think we'd have got more joy. But the last thing, I'm not making excuses because I see some of the stuff. Oh, we haven't scored X amount of goals under Arteta, and under Emery we did this and that and the other. We had enough chances to win that game. The only criticism I would have of Arteta yesterday was I think the substitution was poor. I mean, I know Smith Rowe's carrying a knock, but he was our obvious route to goal. And we could have got another 20. I mean, given that we're not playing till the 10th of February and we're heading off to Dubai, we could have left Smith Rowe on. I mean, I'd have had no difficulty with Nketiah coming on for Lacazette, but to come on for Smith Rowe, I thought was the wrong move, right? And the last thing to say is, I'm bleeding sick of her. I am sick of it because, I mean, there's 4 blatant red cards this season. Johnny Evans when he was the last man away at Leicester. MacArthur's karate kick, Tomiyasu getting stamped on the face by Ben Godfrey. And the decision on Westwood yesterday, right? Oh, when he gave him, he'd gotten a yellow, right? He led with his arm into the face with full intent. And you could see the way Gabriel's head kind of moved back, that it was just a full frontal elbow charge.
Yeah.
And how in the name of God, VAR did not say, you need to check that one for serious foul play is beyond me. And I'm getting sick of it, to be honest with you. And if you look, for all the stick that he gets, and what Granit Xhaka got sent off against the same opposition for last year. Oh, but you can't raise your hand in football. Well, you obviously can if you're not Arsenal. You obviously can.
I agree, yeah.
Oh, you can't raise your hand if you're Granit Xhaka, but if you're some Neolithic tribe coming down and and you can do all sorts of dark arts and it's all okay. I'm sick of VAR and I'm sick of being on the wrong end of decisions by VAR. We don't get them. We haven't had a break from VAR all bloody season, and I think we probably got one offside goal when we were beating Norwich 5-1. That's about the only thing we've gotten off them, and it was an absolute disgrace, and it would have changed the game. And I'm not looking for guys to be sent off, but if MacArthur gets sent off against Palace, another game that we drew, it would have been in the first half, and we'd have won them though. But that being said, it was one of those frustrating days. And it kind of was shaping up that way, and you could feel it. And I thought the crowd were good. I thought the crowd responded to the energy in the second half. But look, you get days like that, and Eric is spot on. The amount of times when Wenger had a young team in the 2010-11 era, and you're drawing 0-0 with Blackburn. Was that many of those games 0-0 at Sunderland, 0-0 with Blackburn? You just get days like that, and I think Wenger always said about games like that, it's important that when it's not going to go for you, that you don't lose the game. No? And at least we didn't lose the game. I thought Aaron Ramsdale was all over the gaff. I don't know what brain he had on yesterday. Mind you, his post-match analysis was very good insofar as he criticised the team for throwing in too many crosses that were meat and drink to Burnley, and I'd agree with him. He made a great save in the first half because he got himself all out of position. He just had a bad day. Aaron did. Although I love what he brings to the team, he just had and I think it just was one of those days that it didn't go terribly well for us. But look, it is what it is. We have a break now. We're now in a foot race, and let's hope that we can recharge, and let's get the foot race on. Because Harry Modo and his ugly bunch yesterday lost at Chelsea, and so we're not letting the gap swing too much, and we're now in a foot race, and let's get it on. So that's pretty much it, folks.
Yeah, it's the first time we haven't scored in 4 consecutive games in all competitions since December 2005. The last goal was on New Year's Day, Bukayo Saka against Man City. So that shows where our problem lies. And as Eric said, bringing on Eddie and Ketty to try and score a goal, they're really clutching at straws yesterday.
No problem on Eddie and Ketty. I have a problem that he replaced Smith Rowe more so. I mean, I think Lacazette was kind of spent, I've no problem bringing on Nketiah for Lacazette. I've a problem bringing on Nketiah for your most creative force on the day.
So maybe if I could just clarify there, I want to be clear. Like, I agree with you on the Smith Rowe thing. I thought it was weird that Nketiah ended up on the wing, and that didn't make a ton of sense. He was on the outside. Like, Nketiah needs to be in the box. That's the only way place he's dangerous.
Yeah.
That said, I kind of, at this point would have preferred, something more on the wing and move Martinelli inside, or something different. Because look, I've seen Nketiah play enough times to where when he comes on, do I think he's going to score? No, unless we're playing like Sunderland, right?
Or as you say, Eric, unless he's in the bloody box, because he's useful around the box. Yeah, but I have to say, one thing I missed was the save that Nick Pope pulled off from the beautifully worked corner routine.
Oh
was absolutely incredible. It was as good as Ramsdale, because if you look at it from looking towards the goal on a frontal view, he sees none of that.
Nothing, that's right, yeah.
He absolutely sees none of it. It was an incredible save,
I tell you, if I was going for a goalkeeper, and if Ramsdale wasn't doing so well, I'd probably go for Nick Pope. He's a very underrated keeper. He's definitely going to be in England #1 as well. He's got it all. It's just injuries is probably his only thing over the last couple of seasons, but he's definitely the difference of Burnley going down over the last few seasons. Yeah. The annoying thing was, when not winning yesterday, it would have pushed us back in the top 4. As it stands, we lie in 6th place with 36 points. We're just 2 off Man United, who will hold 4th with 38 points. They're somehow scraping wins from nowhere, games they don't deserve to get anything from. They're getting these 1-0s and all. So go ahead, Eric.
But I think that's an important point, right? Is they're playing muck football. But the difference is they have a couple lads on the pitch that are good to score a goal on their own.
They can change a game.
Exactly, and it makes the difference. If you have somebody that just has one individual moment of brilliance and kicks the ball in the goal, that's how you end up the league, and that's what separates the teams in the top 4 and those that are. So I think as we're looking at where we can add quality, I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and I don't know whether lads you saw it on Facebook yesterday, but I think Dusan Vlahovic wants to stay the rest of the season now at Fiorentina, so that quashed.
Forget about him.
So
I told you last week. I told you the week before.
He was the person that said he was coming in the January transfer window.
I'm sick of listening to him. I'm sick of listening about Vlahovic. He's gonna be like Karim Benzema. He'll never come to the Arsenal.
Mr. Optimistic Eamonn again after such a good run.
I heard. I mean, look, the rumors are all over the shop. The last I heard is we're going to go in for Renato Sanchez, and by the way, we're going to drop 90 million euro to buy Isaac out of Spain. I'm like, do you really think either of these is going to happen? Like, no. I mean, fingers crossed, but come on.
Yeah. It was this. I think, lads, as well. To have 20 attempts against Burnley, you'd assume that we'd get 1 or 2. I think that's the most disappointing about yesterday, to have controlled the majority of the game and just to come out with a draw. It's just and the chance, you know, they're the types of games that you need to be winning to get into the Champions League spots. Who stood out?
Jonathan, you do, but you see, I always say that, like, you're gonna get outcomes like that. What you have to do when you drop points like that is you've got to go and take one against the head. So where you'd probably think a point at Wolves would be a good result ordinarily, you've got to go and take one against the head and win there now. That's what you have to do, you know.
And that's as well with Wolves coming up, lads, as well. February 10th, I think it is. It's a Thursday night. Wolves are coming into a bit of form as well. They could be contenders as well if they keep it going as well. You know,
he's done a good job there.
He's actually done a surprisingly good job, hasn't he? They're very tight at the back, and they're scoring goals. You know, they're adding more goals than what they were. They've been a dark horse now, and they're going about their business quite quietly. You know, so I think Wolves are one to watch for Europe as well. You know, Eric, who stood out for you yesterday as your man of the match? What player stood out for you in the Arsenal?
Right, tough to say. I think Amo hit the nail on the head earlier when he talked about the need to get the ball to Saka more, because every time he got the ball, he was just so dangerous. Yeah. And you know, so to me, if you're going to pick one, I think it's him. Like Smith Rowe had a great created the best chance in the match, but you know, I think he's clearly still struggling for fitness and form, and that was maybe one of his only main moments in the match. But Saka just throughout, every time he got the ball, he looked dangerous. It looked like he could make something happen. And I'd say, you know, it's too bad because at the end of the first half, he had a really good chance, a really good chance. Yeah. And he just put it wide. And you know, you can see where his game needs to go to really, really turn the screw, because once he starts putting those away, like there's no stopping him. I mean, he is a phenomenal talent, and so to me, he just stood out as the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, he was, but yeah, hands down, he'd be mine as well. Early game, he was superb. Eamon, who stuck out for you?
I agree with that, but I'm going to go for something a bit different. Benji for me. I'm becoming a big fan of this guy, Ben White. He has a bit of the devil in him. I'll tell you what now, he doesn't, no such thing as him getting intimidated in any way, shape or form. I thought he looked to switch the play quickly as much as possible off either foot. What he was trying to do was knowing that if you're going to try and push the ball wide against a team that sits low, you have to do it quickly. It can't take forever. And he was constantly trying to do that. He was also, he was also filling in for Rob Holding for the first 20 minutes because Holding was all over the gaff. Holding and Ramsdale were all over the gaff for the first 20 minutes. And Ben White stepped in from right full back and helped out a number of times. So, and I like his attitude. There's a spite in him. He looks as if butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, but there's a spite in him, you know.
There is,
and I like it. I like what I'm seeing from him. So for that and the kind of game it was, I'm gonna say Ben White.
Yeah, he stood out for me as well, Eamon. And probably for you as well, Eric, if you've seen him for the time he was on loan at Leeds United and for Brighton over the, I think was it a season or two he was there. He really stood out there, and they wanted to keep him, Leeds and Brighton, so it shows, you know, how highly they think of him. Yeah, so I think 50 million is a snip.
48 million well spent, Jonathan.
I think so, and 30 million on Ramsdale.
He had some phenomenal switch passes, like just some phenomenal switches.
Yeah, he can switch the ball for a defender. He can come out and play with it, can't he?
I can play.
It's the pace. It's the pace he hits the ball at up front too. It's not floated up there. I mean, he's firing it in there, and like, you know, he had a couple to Martinelli that were serious stuff. So. I mean, I definitely think he stood out. You know, I probably picked the obvious one, but had to make sure I gave Saka credit anyway.
Yeah, Ben White. Yeah, Eamon's mentioned him on the last few shows. All right, yeah, he's becoming a fan's favourite, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think all the signings, being honest, lads, since the summer, they've all become fans' favourites so quickly. Tomiyasu as well. You know, he's gone under the radar, but I think he's been superb.
And the other thing, Jonathan, is that Lokonga, they didn't intend to play him as much. you know, and
Yeah.
he had to operate as a one yesterday.
Yeah.
He was in the middle, he was the middle one, and it was a difficult job for him. And I thought he was game, and he tried, you know, but we missed the middle too, you know, a lot, you
Big
know.
time, yeah. There was nothing going.
I would say one thing that stood out to me about Lukonga's game yesterday is he struggled when he had to work off the ball and when he had to create angles to receive a pass. But once he got the ball, he played some really killer passes.
Oh yeah, no, I like him.
I just thought that, you know, where you'll see him really improve over time is getting better spots to receive the ball and turn, but also just kind of his defensive positioning. I thought a couple of times he ended up out of place, which didn't necessarily cost us because we were playing Burnley, but you know, maybe cost us possession a couple of times.
Yeah, and as from some of the newspaper headlines I was looking at last night, it's been a dry January in every sense, particularly goals. 1 goal in 4 games, but look, you have to take that.
Yeah, well, I don't read too much into that stuff, you know. We should have scored yesterday. We didn't.
We should have.
On another day,
we should have.
And as I said, you know, I firmly believe that if the Lacazette chance goes in, or the Saka one before half time, we go and get 2 or 3. You know,
the floodgates open, because Burnley's heads go down when they concede 1 or 2. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 3-week break did do them a lot. You know, they did look pretty fresh, but look, 0-0, I'll take a point and a clean sheet as well, and we move on. And of course, the next game is February the 10th, so we've about roughly a 2-week break there. It's on Thursday, February 10th. It's Wolves away, and we've got a game in hand over Wolves as well. That should have been played at the end of December. So, big games coming up, and with being out of the cups as well, we can concentrate on the league now. You know, it's full steam ahead now for the last part of the season. So, something to look forward to, hopefully.
I like the idea that the team has gone away on a training camp.
Yeah.
I just think it's time to reset now after the kind of January we've had. And I like that idea, you know.
Bit of bonding as well, yeah. I think it's badly needed. I think it's a good idea as well, you know. It recharges the batteries and it earns out any issues that's been going on, you know, in the camp as well. So, you know.
I presume there'll be a mad variant of COVID over in Dubai. You know, the nitro nuclear cron of whatever it is, you know. And the lads will come back with 3 ears and 1 eye or something like that, you know.
And Lacazette gets 20 goals. But yeah, look, we'll preview that game, Wolves game, in the next week or 2. Yeah, so there's still plenty to look forward to in the league, lads. We're still in it. That's the main thing. We're still in it to get forward. So we go on to the review of Thursday's Carabao Cup second leg defeat to Liverpool. Diogo Jota scored twice in the first and second half. Lacazette had a free kick that was touched onto the crossbar. It was a super save from Caoimhín Kelleher. He's really done well now, being Irish now and all, you know. I can see a big future for this lad. But if that goal had gone in my opinion, I think we would have probably gone on to maybe win the game. You know, I think the first goal was crucial. And, you know, sadly, Liverpool got the first, and I think our heads went down a bit. I think, in my opinion, over the 2 legs, did we deserve to go through? Probably not. You know, I don't think we've done enough to get through. You know, Liverpool controlled the game fairly well. You know, they can control games and get goals when they need to. Party got sent off, of course. I just don't think it was just 2 silly tackles he didn't have to make. His head was gone. He had a disappointing African Nations Cup. Ghana got knocked out the week before, I think a few days before that, so he'd only landed a few hours, and he went out, and he just sadly got 2 missed-time tackles, really, wasn't it? And look, the game was gone at that stage anyway when he'd got him, but it was just disappointing, to be honest. We just didn't turn up, I don't think, in that second leg at all. You know, it's just a flat performance, and for a chance to get to Wembley and to win the League Cup since 1993 was just really disheartening, really, you know, in my opinion. So, as I said, I don't think we've done enough over the 2 legs. I'll go to Eamonn. What did you make of the performance on Thursday?
Well, I have to apologise in advance to all the listeners. I had a visitor over from Wolverhampton, of all places, and And when you have a visitor over, you have to kind of go. I spent the afternoon in the pub. So, and with the 8 o'clock, so I watched it at home. But I didn't have my usual concentration levels, much hard as I tried. I was more like a screaming fan than some kind of senior analyst. No, but I was. I have to say, I was heartened by. I think what happened actually was they burst their balloon. We were doing okay. We turned up with energy. It was cagey, but I think we had the advantage energy wise in the first 20 minutes, and the goal burst our balloon.
Yeah.
And I think the belief coursed out of the team. And really, you knew kind of at 1-0, that was probably it, Again, they're they're a few years ahead of us in their development. But I just think that John has got, and he's another one of these. Is it only with the Arsenal where you get guys that are serial scorers against the Arsenal? Robbie Fowler used to do it the whole time. Even that gobshite Ian Armandroid, like fellas like that. They just Harry Kane, like now Jota is on the map. He's always bloody well scoring against us,
Yeah.
Look, it was disappointing. As you say, it was a chance to get into a final, but they were really, really up for it. He wants to win a bit of silverware. They're a bit better than us, but like you say, Jonathan, I think if we'd have scored first, it would have been a different game altogether.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think if Lacazette scored that free kick, I think the crowd would have been behind us, and it's very hard to play the Emirates when the crowd is on your back. Yeah.
As regards Thomas Partey, the first thing I'd say is for a guy who admittedly hasn't been at his best by his own admission with us, and was starting to play, was coming into lovely form just before the AFCON. I have to say I admire his honesty. And the fact that he wanted to get out there and play, I think, is commendable. It couldn't have been easy, but maybe his head wasn't right, maybe it wasn't the right thing. But hopefully he can reset in the break that we have and really come back stronger. So I wouldn't be too, I wouldn't be as much doom and gloom now in my head about where we are than, as some of the people, but disappointing. Semi-final, you want to go to the final,
Yeah. It was as well as that. It was for the semi-final over 2 days. It was probably the toughest opposition you could ask for. With Liverpool. Eric, what did you make it the second leg?
Yeah, look, it's definitely disappointing to not make the final. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but I do think that like there are mitigating circumstances here. Look at Jota's first goal. Tomiyasu, who hasn't trained, carrying a knock, couldn't even play the next game. He slips, in goes Jota. He mishits the ball. That seems the square pass. It's a bit unlucky, but also it goes to show why the match before it was cancelled, right? Like we had a load of lads out there that hadn't trained. Smith Rowe looked far from his best and far from fit. Like in a lot of ways, it was sort of one of those matches where, I think as long as it was 0-0, or if we had gotten the first goal, we could have stuck to it. But I also just think it was very clear that we had a number of people, including Saka, who just didn't look quite on it on the day. That were a bit jaded, maybe carrying a knock, something, to where, I think it made a big difference in terms of our ability to sustain the pressure that we started with in the first 20 minutes. The other thing I'd note is, to me, the difference in the game and the reason Liverpool were able to control the match is that our midfield was Lokonga and Odegaard, and theirs was Fabinho and Henderson, right? It made a big difference. And like Odegaard, I thought played well, and credit to him. He moved the ball quickly. He was one of the few guys actually giving us some real possession. But I think that Fabinho and Henderson were able to get on the ball, We're able to dominate. We're able to, really stop anything that coming through the middle. And we didn't really have an answer to that. And so they were able to possess the ball. They were able to create those chances. And look, like the second Jota goal was essentially, a mirrored version of the red card that Saka got, right? They broke the press. They hit a long ball over top, and then goes out there and he kicks the ball in the goal. So
yeah, it is very similar.
I think to Emo's point, right now they're ahead of us. I think they also happen to have a couple players on the pitch that were difference makers in terms of what they were able to do. And, we just looked a bit jaded overall. Martinelli, I thought, deserves mention, though. I thought he was really on it. Like, he created absolute havoc for Liverpool. And Liverpool at some points had 2-3 defenders on him, and they still couldn't get the ball off him. So, I think it was one of those matches where if we were going to get something, it was going to be an individual moment, like the Lacazette free kick, Martinelli breaking through, 2 or 3 defenders. But ultimately, like, they just had a much stronger team on the pitch, I think, from through the spine of the team with Van Dijk and Fabinho and Henderson, to where they really were able to keep everything on the outside. And it just made a big difference in terms of our ability to really threaten.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I do agree with you, Eric. It would have taken a moment of individual brilliance to get something against Liverpool, because they're just so hard as a unit to break down, aren't they? They just have such quality. With Mane and Salah gone, they can still manage to beat teams 2-3-0 and still put in a performance, even if they were there. It's just amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. But you have to be realistic. We're where they were 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I can remember them getting stuffed 3-0 at Watford, and
yeah, I remember.
Klopp was already under pressure a few months in the job.
Yeah,
but their team is getting older.
Yeah.
You look at the team; it's getting older.
Yeah,
And I'm not so sure. Of course, I might sound like an absolute gobshite saying this, but I'm not so sure that he can go to the well again and build all that up from the start again.
Yeah.
Because he's more or less kept that team together for 4, 5, 6 years, and he's a very energy-sapping. He saps my bleeding energy anyway. He's a very energy-demanding coach. It's all high, as he calls it, heavy metal football and all that. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'd have a little alarm bells in my head.
Yeah, they're getting. Some of the players say they're getting tired as well. More noticeable last season than the season. It took a lot of energy the season they won the league, and a lot of players came out and said last season that they were tired. They just couldn't keep that intensity up that he demands game in, game out. Very similar to Leeds United. A small squad, put constant demands on players, it's bound to get injuries and all, but they seem to recover quite quickly, and
they haven't seemed to recover against us.
I was really.
They were false positives.
Yeah, I was really convinced last time we were going to beat them at Thursday. I predicted we'd beat them 2-0 and Burnley 2-0. Look what happens. When you've got optimism that high, it does deflate your balloon.
But I think that's important though in terms of especially the Burnley game, right? Like we could easily have won that match 2-0, 3-0.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was right there to be had. Like variance happens over the course of the season. That's why you have to take more shots. You have to create lots of chances, because over the season you're going to have some bad results. But ultimately, like if you're creating chances consistently, you get the goals. And the difference. And the main difference between those two matches, right, is we created chances to win the match against Burnley. We didn't create too much against Liverpool, right? But Liverpool was able to keep us mostly at arm's length.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the difference between those types of teams as well.
Yeah, we didn't create. Yeah, it's definitely, as Hardy said, we're definitely lacking an out-and-out striker now, aren't we? Like, Aubameyang was doing a couple of seasons ago, banging in 20
odd goals. I don't want to hear about him again. I'm sick of him.
we need someone We do need someone. I don't know. Like even Arteta said in an interview after the match yesterday, I don't think he's too optimistic about bringing any players in. I don't think in this window,
No.
Don't think we're gonna get it.
It's a hard window, you know.
Very tough, isn't it? Especially in mid-season, no clubs want to sell. You know, dependent obviously where they are sitting at the table and pushing for Europe, etc. Yeah.
The only team selling anybody is Barcelona because they're broke. You know, nobody else is selling anybody. But like, you know, Villa got Coutinho because Barca was desperate to get rid of him.
Yeah.
You know, but otherwise, like they're the only ones doing any transfer business.
Yeah, they want to get them off their wage bill. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they somehow afforded to get Ferran Torres of Man City. You know, it's amazing what they can do when they want. Yeah, so look, sadly we're out of the League Cup. A missed opportunity for silverware, but I suppose at this stage I take 4th place, lads. Would you over any cup to just get back into the Champions League? Would you take that now? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's sure. Would I take it? I'd take your arm off for it, like, you know. But at least we're in that conversation.
Yeah, which a couple of seasons ago you wouldn't have said that. Yeah.
We did that conversation last season.
To my mind, I think actually it's the number one most important thing we could have done at the start of this season, right? Because being in the Champions League for us, especially if we're saying we need to sign, you know, one of the best strikers in the world to take us to the next level or whatever it is, you have to be in the Champions League to sell it to them. That's how you sell the project. You be in the Champions League, you show where you're going,
yeah,
and then you can spend the money. But you know, I think we're just going to continue to say yes, we're going to get the best young strikers or whatever it is if we can't sell them Champions League football. So I think it also shows if we can get somebody to move the needle there, this is the time to do it because we are in with the shout. We have a legit chance, but the only way we're going to do there is by scoring more goals, and that, you know, like we've been pretty solid actually, you know, over the last month for as much as we haven't scored, but you know the big difference is we just need to start sticking the ball in the net.
Yeah, but you see, the thing about that is, though, we're chatting about transfer business now, but, you know, it's all very well if it was FIFA manager. I'll go out and get this body, that body, and the other body. And it's way more complicated. In fairness, the owners get a lot of stick, and rightly so, at some levels. But they weren't shy about investing in the squad in the summer. And by all accounts, are not actually shy in trying to get who they need to get, but sometimes you just can't do that. You know, the player has to want to come.
Yeah, absolutely. My point is, one of the ways you convince the player to come is you tell them you're going to get Champions League football.
Oh, 100%.
That's
100%.
Like, that's where it's super important for us to go to the next level. We have to do it to get the recruitment bit right, because you know, if you want to go and say yes, we're going to offer all this money, that's great. But if the player's going to want to come, he's going to want to play Champions League football because that's where the best players want to play.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I suppose since we're on transfer talk, you might as well talk about say Kolasinac left last week. He went to Marseille course, and that's ended up being a free transfer, so he's gone off the books. And
well, he's not gone off the books until the summer.
Is he? He's still with us, is he?
Well, no, he's not still with us. We're still paying his bloody wages until the summer.
Well, at least
that's the deal. The deal, we're paying his wages on the summer.
I think we terminated his contract. I think we paid him off like Ozil.
Yeah, but we paid him the same amount as he'd earn up to the summer, you know.
Yeah. So, just been a few outgoings, but mostly just loans. And as we said there earlier on, incomings don't look likely at all, do they? I was hoping on Vlahovic, but he put a dent in that this weekend, saying he doesn't want to come. So hopefully the summertime we can put in a better bid, but that might depend, as Eric said, if he finished forward come the end of the season. That might, it's his mindset might be, I'm sure at his age, I'm sure Taylor doing quite well as well. He might even want to stay another year if they get Champions League football themselves, you know.
Jonathan, We are not getting that guy. We won't be getting that guy. He doesn't want to play.
I do.
He's not coming. He's not. Forget about him.
He will.
Forget about him. He's not coming.
He's going to Juventus.
We've a better chance of getting somebody like Jonathan David from we've a better chance of getting somebody like that. I'm not saying that's what you want to hear.
But I'm just saying the two links that to me seem to have legs from all the different rumors that are out there are Isaac and Calvert-Lewin. But neither of those has happened before the summer.
What was that? Eric Isaac is what?
Sorry. I was saying that Isaac and Calvert-Lewin are the only two rumors that seem to have any legs. And neither of those seems to be happening anytime before the summer. So I don't see where we're actually going to go and bring in a striker to really score goals until the summer. So we need to figure out a way to do it with what we have. As sad as that is, and I think that could very well cost us top four. But I just don't see us convincing a number of those guys to come over before the end of the season.
I 100% agree with you. I think in the summer you could get Calvert-Lewin, and he's a good player. I don't think you're going to get Vlahovic because what's going to happen there is once it goes to the summer, we're going to be competing with bigger sharks, That's the unfortunate way of it. So I think we should I think we should ban his name on this show.
Never say never, Eamon. Never say never. Now last Thursday
we should sign Karim Benzema.
Yeah.
Sure, we might as well go for Carabao as well. Sure, that's all right. Pablo Mari went on loan to Udinese last Thursday. Do you see that being the end of the line, lads, for his career at Arsenal? Do you think that'd be a permanent switch in the summer, Dan? Eamon?
Yeah, I think he was a cheap option to get us out of a hole at a time we were struggling, and it's no big. We're not taking a big financial hit. We've invested heavily in Ben White. He prefers holding over Marty. I think Saliba will be back. I think Marty's done now. He's done.
Do you think Marty's done as well, Eric?
Yeah, I agree. I think this was Arteta saying, "Go play some football. You're not playing here anymore," and that's about that. Like in fairness, he played the last time he played was when Lukaku was like roasting him. So he hasn't seen it since. So what's the point if you're only gonna he wasn't even making the bench half the time. So there's no point. It is what it is. He came in, he bailed us out of a hole when we needed depth, but overall he was never at the level.
No.
Yeah, sadly not. Yeah.
He's too big and awkward. It's like somebody said about Harry Maguire that every part of his body is 18 inches too big.
Yeah, squad player at best, lads. Yeah. So on to our loan feature now. We have William Saliba on loan at Marseille, Lucas Torreira at Fiorentina, Hector Bellerin at Real Betis, Reece Nelson at Feyenoord, and in this window, Ainsley Maitland-Niles at Roma and Fodder Balogun at Middlesbrough. He's on the bench tonight against Blackburn. I suppose out of them lads, Eric, who would you like to see coming back out of them, if any?
I think hopefully Saliba comes back, and we have a good chance then to move Holding and or Chambers on.
Yeah.
I think that Holding's a good squad player. He's had some decent performances for us and all the rest, but he clearly doesn't have the athleticism as our top center backs, you know. And I think honestly we need to be in a position where, you know, we can rotate a bit more and be comfortable with it, you know, because every player is not going to be able to play every minute, and the more we can be comfortable moving guys around, the better. I think Balogun will come back. I think that there's, you know, he's a young kid. He's going to get experience. You know, there's a good chance he's on loan again next year. But certainly, I think, you know, he's not one who's we're going to give up on straight away. I think actually one of the interesting things that's coming out about Marseille is they may have a transfer ban, which might actually bring Guendouzi back. Now, do I think Guendouzi is going to play for us again? Not necessarily, but it could be interesting to see if he actually ends up being sold to Marseille at the end of the day, or if we have to work out another deal for him.
Yeah, I didn't hear actually. That's I think I don't know. I think Guendouzi burned his bridges there, didn't he, with Arteta in the summer? Yeah. But yeah, you never know. He's a fiery character, but so some characteristics, it's just his attitude kind of stings, you know. Aiming out those players. I know you like. Sorry, go ahead, Eddie.
No, I was going to say, I don't think he's necessarily going to play for us again. For the record, I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance that he has to come back, and we have to work out another deal, depending on what the terms of that transfer ban are, which you know may complicate a few things during the summer. You know, who knows? Maybe we'll actually make real money off of him instead of a few quid.
Yeah, just a few. What usually happens in the fireside side thing. Yeah. Eamon, now with them loans, I know you're definitely keen on William Saliba coming back. Do you see anyone else out?
Balogun is being sent out on loan to play for us, not to play for anybody else. He's been sent out on loan to play for us. He's going to be a superstar, that guy, right?
Yeah,
that's my prediction on him. He has everything. He's got pace. As Terry Venables has said, he's got feet. He's got feet and an head, right? But he's got great pace. Yeah, he's a lovely touch. No, he's going to be a superstar. We want him back. The one that intrigues me most, Jonathan, is Reiss Nelson, because he was a guy that was the best of his generation. And to me, he always looked like a guy whose body weight was too heavy for what it should be. And I don't think he worked hard enough. And it depends on what, you know, sometimes when you play for a club like the Arsenal, and most of our ex-pros, Paul Merson included, say, it's only when you leave the Arsenal you realise that most moves are downhill. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And a season of fine art for him might just trigger, Jesus, I have to get up and go to work and work hard here. And I think if he did, he'd have a chance. I really do. I think he has what it takes ability-wise to be a top player. But he looked to me, when you see a fella that you think is just a bit, and they're only margins, to me he looked like a half stone overweight. And if he knuckled down, I'd be interested to see what he's like come the end of the season, you know, because he has ability, that guy. So Balogun for sure, Saliba for sure, Nelson maybe,
Yeah.
you know, because the workload on Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, you can't just keep playing them every week, you know. I think there would be room in the squad for Reiss Nelson if he worked hard enough.
Yeah, I remember seeing him, Eamon, probably the same as yourself, Eric. It was a couple of years ago in the FA Cup third round. He scored the winning goal against Leeds United. It was 1-0 that night. And he really stood out for me. You know, it was a young team he had out that night, but he really stood out. You know, he's got this fella's talent. And then after that, he done actually quite well, actually. I think we played Portsmouth in the next round, I think. And he really stood out in the cup games. But yeah, he's a bit of work to do, but definitely.
I think that the type of conversation that Eamon just had about Reiss Nelson is basically what defines his career. You know, he went to Hoffenheim. He scored a few goals. I think it was Nagelsmann who was his manager at the time. And Nagelsmann basically started sitting him down because he wasn't doing enough in training. And, you know, he's sort of floated between being a guy who people think can really make it in the first team, but never did. And I think, you know, there's loads of players with lots of ability. But the ability to maintain it, to have it between your ears, to do it every single day in training as well, it separates kind of the best from guys who were nearly there, right? So it would be great because I think Nelson has always had loads of ability and he's looked it, right? He has a great first touch, seemed to have a good turn of pace and all the rest. But, you know, I think he must be 24 now? 23,
You
24?
see, he'll be 23 when he comes back to us.
Yeah. But I think like Maitland-Niles, at the point that you're 23 these days, you're sort of the player that you're going to be. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't foresee him coming back to be an impact.
Well, yeah, I'd agree with you kind of as a rule of thumb, Eric, right? But the one case that always stands out in my mind is Francis Coquelin had the same accusations leveled at him, and he went to Charlton Athletic and decided, Jesus, my graph is right, and he couldn't make it here. I think he was at Hoffenheim as well, you know, or Wolfsburg or one of those, you know. And he came back and he had 2 great seasons for us in the middle of the pitch. Very athletic boy, you know. So I just think that Nelson's on last chance saloon. It intrigues me because there's a lot of talk about Jadon Sancho and all that. Like, Nelson was the best of that generation, right? And with him, it's a question of, do you want to work hard enough or do you not? And I just think that if he came back from Feyenoord having worked hard, I'd be interested to see what kind of product you have. But on the law of averages, you're probably right. You know.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I'd like to see, like, it depends for Feyenoord this season, but look, he's worth getting back and see how he does again in pre-season, maybe, you know. And
yeah, exactly.
But there's so many coming, you know. It's definitely worth. He's young and he's hungry, you know, and he's Arsenal. I think he's Arsenal in his heart, and so you see how that goes. Then there's Hector Bellerin at Betis and Lucas Ferreira. In my opinion, I think their days are probably numbered with us now. You know, I think Bellerin wants to probably stay in Spain.
Oh, they're gone.
Ferreira, they're gone. Yeah,
they're gone.
Do you see Eric yourself? Do you see them gone?
They're gone. They got loaned because they were leaving. You know, they're done. I think honestly, like, I think Bellerin will stay with Betis.
Yeah.
I don't know if Torreira will necessarily stay with Fiorentina, but he'll certainly stay in Italy. I think they're both.
Yeah.
They're both.
It's hard to say.
Torreira has no interest in coming back to England.
No.
Like, he doesn't.
No, he just didn't settle, did he? Yeah.
No. Exactly.
There is one other lad. That's a dark horse. He's at my favourite Scottish team, Hibernian, Harry Clark. And I say that because of as you say, if you moved on Holding and Chambers and you had Saliba in, they wouldn't give him a permanent move to Hibs.
Right. They think that highly of him.
And he's only 20. So, like, you know, just watch out for him.
Right. Yeah. There's another one as well, Eamon. The last couple of games, Len as a bench, Carl Hine, is that his name? The young goalkeeper. They've high hopes for him. Do you think this could be the end of Burnley? Either this window or summer.
That's that lad, you know.
Has he? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Estonian, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, he just was loaned to Reading today, I believe.
Do you think Leno will be sold, lads, in the summer?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, you think Leno's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's a good goalkeeper and he needs to be he needs to be a number one. You know, he's a good goalkeeper.
It shows how good Ramsdale has shown, though, isn't it? Like, it's amazing what Ramsdale has stepped in.
Well,
you know,
if he does any more of yesterday's carry on, Leno will be back in the goal.
Yeah,
That's how he got his place in the first place. because Leno had been having some poor form, and Ramsdale yesterday was poor, Jonathan. You know, the one that he flapped at, Jesus Christ, in the box, he punched it backwards. You know,
the thing is, Ramsdale, he can recover quickly, though, Eamon. You know, he can do. You know, he bounces back very quickly. Yeah.
But let's
he's my man of the match pretty much every game. You know, so I don't know whether he's
the reason.
Go ahead.
The reason Ramsdale is playing is for his distribution.
Correct.
Right. It's not because he's doing so much better in terms of saves or otherwise than Leno is. It's that he hits a long pass or two every match that makes you go, oh wow, he dropped that on somebody's foot. He hit Martinelli a couple times in that Liverpool match. Where with a pinpoint long pass that really almost sent us away. So I think that's the major difference is that Leno doesn't play the passes as bravely and just doesn't do too much other than kind of basic distribution. Whereas Ramsdale's up there and he might make you nervous a few times, but he's trying to play balls into dangerous spots.
Yeah, he's taking his chance with both hands in fairness, hasn't he? He played every game for Sheffield United last year when they went out.
I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I just thought he was all over the gaff yesterday.
Yeah, look, keepers can have their off day, but he makes up for it in the same game with like a save from nowhere as well. That's what I like about him. He doesn't let things get to him. Where you could have one stinker of a game and it follows the next game. He washes that game aside and starts afresh the next one. And there's definitely a future for him there.
Totally.
It definitely is an England one as well. I think the way Pickford's playing this year. I'm quite amazed, being honest, lads. Why Southgate constantly Pickford. I just don't. I think he's just a mistake waiting to happen. He's very erratic or something. Pickford.
He's mad.
I don't know.
He's nuts.
He's mad. Yeah.
He's absolutely nuts. You could not.
Yeah.
He's just. I wouldn't put him in an under-8 team. He's bonkers.
There you have it, Gareth. Are you listening? Ramsdale all the way from the trade here. But it's only a matter of time before Ramsdale gets in. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised come the end of the year. That's with the World Cup that you'll be seeing Ramsdale in goal for England. You heard it here first.
Absolutely.
Or it could go on horribly wrong since we put the markers on the last two games. Is there any other news you've heard, lads, in the transfer window or anything else that you'd like to throw out there? No.
And what about this guy Vlahovic?
I told you that this
it's banned.
This
it's a banned subject matter.
I know. I do see him joining this in the very, very far future. No, look, you never know. But probably no. Being realistic,
chance to get Djokovic.
I take Harry Kane any day. I'd added that out. Of course, you can watch all Arsenal's games in the Riverbar in Dublin City Centre. It's the official Arsenal Dublin Supporters Club. Have you been there, lads, over the last few games or anything? They like to fill in
yesterday.
The list. And is it okay in terms of in terms of social distancing? Is that all gone now? No, yeah.
The war is over.
Right.
The war is over.
I wouldn't say it's over yet, but we're getting there.
Well, the war is over.
Back in for the Wolves match anyway. So.
Yeah, February 10th, lads. Yeah, Thursday that is.
I'd be more worried about Russian vessels off the coast of Cork now than I would about COVID. So, and no offense to any of our Russian listeners, I'm just saying, your track record of that type of thing maybe needs examination,
I'm not getting into any political views in this. I leave that to Tonight Show and Virgin Media for that. Hopefully they blow the bollocks out in the Emirates and get us fucking with it as well, maybe after yesterday's show.
As long as they contain it in Cork.
They can do what they want there. Just don't come here. Body Blanchard. Hopefully that Roy King cunt gets fucking blown away. Yeah, there's nothing else that you like to throw out there.
I always say we've covered pretty much everything, from COVID to the Russian suppression of Cork to no transfer business. I think we've done the rounds tonight.
For a dry Monday and a dry January, I think that's been quite a good show. Yeah, I'd like to thank my guests, as always, for their insights into pretty much everything tonight. Thanks to Eric Shadowens and Eamonn Donnelly. You can
Next week's show was based on existentialist physics. Myself and Eric are going to have a good go at that now.
I don't have them.
We need to explain how we're going to sign Vlahovic.
I'm looking forward to it, lads, because there's not to be fuck all to talk about. On next week's show, we're going to do our midterm report on the season, the talking points from it so far, and just a look back on it and the highs and lows. So it got us through at least half an hour, and then how we signed Vlahovic.
Oh, we'll work something up.
We'll brew up a storm, that's for sure. Yeah, once again, thanks to Eamonn Donnelly and Eric Shadowens for your colourful analysis. You can catch our show on Spotify and on SoundCloud as always. Other episodes are there, and on the Dublin Arsenal Supporters Club YouTube channel as well. Thanks to Martin Stumble. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Hassan Hilton.
Of Dublin Supporters Club. So thanks to him for doing the graphics and all for us as well, and the cover art. It's really good, Martin. So thanks very much. And we hope to have him on hopefully next week. He said he hoped to join us as well. So we'd have an Austrian. So we're going on multicultural in this show. No holes barred. Yeah. So thanks to the lads, and we'll see you all again next Monday. So have a good weekend. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Jonathan, and good to see you, Eric, and I'll see you at home soon, yeah?
All right, see you, lads. Have a good one.
And bring Deuce and Vlahovic with you. Or Alexander Isaac.